Nothing like North Haven at Christmas. First time here?
I grew up here.
Welcome home, my world traveler.
Annie Blake.
Dylan Hawks?
I haven't seen you since high school.
What are you doing here?
I want to foster a dog.
Oh, hey, buddy.
I'll take all three.
Seriously?
I need everything if I'm going to get them adopted in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, that's how long I'm home for the holidays.
Would you like to adopt a dog?
You're working so hard. It's Christmas time.
I just want to find the perfect home for these dogs.
You want this little dog to help you herd sheep. You think a dog will help you meet girls?
So, how are the adoptions going?
Great.
Remy?
Stop it.
You're getting attached. You know, you can always adopt them.
I can't. I've never lived in one place for longer than 6 months.
I just got a call from the county. Gave me until Christmas Eve to adopt the dogs and cats, or they're gonna come get them.
We can't let that happen.
We need an event to get the dogs adopted.
A Christmas event.
Well,
You keep a list of Christmas events in your pocket?
I thought this was a safe space, Annie.
In the middle of the night, I wake up from a dream.
You two friends now?
Yeah.
He is adorable and single.
I can hear you, you know.
And I know you'll never let me down. 'Cause boy, I need you now. I'm on my way.
Christmas time in small towns. There's really no better combination.
Lead me back to you.
You love food. You hate food. And you like Christmas ornaments.
This lovely slice of cinematic good cheer is directed by our guest today, Tori Garrett. Tori, congratulations on a lovely film and welcome to Screen Watching.
Thank you.
You've got a very light touch with the rom-com elements of Sit, Stay, Love, which is a long way from your last feature, the very powerful drama Don't Tell. And folks, if you haven't seen Don't Tell, get out and see it. It's a fantastic film. Where does that skillful grasp of both light and dark story elements come from? What's your storytelling mantra, I guess you could say?
Well, I think being a director in Australia is, you know, you have to be a jack of all trades here, and especially if you're a female director, and there's not that many of us. So you have to be able to be good at everything because, you know, you just need to take every job that comes along because, you know, it was always a struggle to sort of get gigs in the beginning. So so I think, you know, because of that, you get a depth of experience with stories that you have to tell, because you have to be able to sort of tell everything. So you know, and I think, you know, as I really love sort of the social justice stories. Obviously, Don't Tell was a real passion project of mine. But, you know, working on, you know, Australian rom-coms, you know, I did Dr. Doctor for Channel 9, which was, you know, you know, one of our sort of greatest sort of comedy writers who went on to do Tony McNamara went on to do The Great, and so, you know, you have to be able to do both. And, you know, a lot of Australian drama, you know, it's sort of, you know, comedy and drama in one. And, you know, you need to be able to sort of do the relationship drama and deal with the comedy elements as well. Because I think, you know, being Australian, you know, it's dark. We like the tender and we like the tough all mixed up into one. So I think, you know, coming through the works as an Australian director has taught me how to, you know, do both. And I think all of us have that skill, to be honest.
And we describe Sit, Stay, Love as sort of the classic rom-com elements, but there's some darker elements to it as well. What appealed most about the first read through of the Sit, Stay, Love script?
Oh, look, you know, rom-coms aren't trying to teach you anything or you know, they're not making any political statements, you know, like we definitely were, and we were telling a true story in Don't Tell, but you know, they're just about rom-coms are lovely because they, you know, when the world sucks like it kind of does at the moment, you know, it's about being drunk on red cordial in the crush zone, and you know, sometimes we need a bit of that. And, you know, we like to have a little glass of Fanta every so often. And that's, you know, that's what this is. You know, there's not, you know, they follow a formula, and if they don't follow a formula, it's like, well, what the hell is this? So, you know, this one sort of neatly followed, you know, ticked all the boxes of what makes a good rom-com. You know, you've got two sort of arguing protagonists, and you know, in a setting that's sort of snowy and gorgeous, and
It is, yes.
And you know, throw in the puppies, which you know, that element for me was fantastic, because you know, I'm a dog lover, and you know, my mum's a dog lover, and I knew that would have an enormous appeal. And I have a really fantastic relationship with the animal wrangler, Katie Brock, and so I knew she was the first person I had to get on board if I was going to take the job. And that was a proviso that I talked her into it, because she was busy. And the other thing was, you know, it was the middle of COVID, so it was the first film that was shot in Queensland when COVID hit. You know, everything else followed after us, but you know, it was a great thing for us all crew to be working, you know, when Hollywood shut down on us all. So it was a miracle to be able to work on something in that time.
I want to talk about your leading lady, Georgia Flood, and I was looking at her face, and I'm thinking, she's beautiful, she's photogenic, and she's wonderful in the part. And I'm thinking, who does this remind me of? And I looked back through my Facebook feed, and I saw a photo from the 80s of a young Juliette Binoche. And she's got exactly the same sort of structure in her face, and the camera loves her as much as it loved Juliette Binoche.
Yes.
And you know, she's sort of she doesn't go all in bubbly for this rom-com lead. There's a certain, you know, there's an undercurrent to her character that you and she explores as well. Tell us about creating the character of Annie with Georgia.
Well, look, I worked with Georgia as in one of her first, I think maybe a second job on Wentworth. She played Dan McCormack's daughter in Wentworth, and she was at school still, and I just thought she was extraordinary then, and I knew I thought, I'll never be able to get this girl in anything after this. She's just going to go off. And then she got that great part in Anzac Girls, and you know, she came up in the casting lists, and I just love her, and I thought she was beautiful, and luckily we got her up, and she and I just worked really well together, and you know, we're working on another project together now, and I just look, I think, you know, there was so many different ways to play characters like Annie, and you know, we just wanted to give her some depth, you know, with you know, being a loner and having, you know, I don't want to spoil it or anything, but you know, sort of coming back home, you know, like me, you know, it's very similar for both of us as women who work away from home all the time and come home to family, and there's always a re-entry burnout period, and you know, there are ways that you handle it, good ways and bad ways, and you know, in the end, you always realize and appreciate how much I'm doing it exactly now. I've been away for 6 months, and I've come home for Christmas. It's, you know, it's exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I have to leave again, you know, the end of January to go on another job, and I'll be away for 6 months. So there was a lot of truth to the story for both of us. So we were able to kind of mine those feelings in the movie.
And when one thinks of Christmas in Vermont, the logical next assumption is let's shoot in Queensland in summer. Tell us about making, and it's probably not as daunting a task as it once might have been, given CGI and creating sets on CGI and stuff like that. But tell us about making
with a big budget.
With a very small budget, yes.
We didn't have a big budget, so
no. Jaggy doesn't throw too much money around, does he? He keeps it tight.
We didn't have, there was no budget for any CGI or hardly any background. We did a little bit of background replacement.
Okay.
But, so not, you know, I've just shot an episode in the US of The Rookie, and it's like, I think there's like $5 million an episode or something.
Oh, my goodness.
We didn't have it anywhere. We did, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, but you know what, on small budgets, you know, it's a corral that you have to just fit so many horses in, and you just work out, you just, you know, it just teaches you how to be conservative and make really good decisions and try and get the most bang for your buck. And we're good at that, you know, us Australian filmmakers,
Sure.
we're really good at that. We're used to that. And, you know, I was lucky to have access to a whole bunch of crew that I've worked with before, and they, you know, we all just were happy to be working. So we went, right, okay, how do we make the Gold Coast look like Christmas in Vermont in, you know, in a particularly tropical, you know, winter, you know, it was, well, I guess it was sort of late winter, early sort of spring.
Yeah.
So we just made it work. And I worked at Movie World before a few times and shot some stuff in that main street. And I knew that they had, you know, 24 snow guns lead, you know, up and down each of those main streets.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
because the first idea was that we would go and shoot it in Hotham and, you know, sit in dinner planes and shoot the whole thing, but it just, you know, and it would be a little tiny sort of northern exposure type town, but you've still got to deal with gum trees and, you know, not a lot of snow. And so it was like I sort of pitched that idea and around the table in pre-production that we use that main street and, you know, fire off all the soap suds in the snow gum, you know, and I knew they had a warehouse of Christmas trees because they do Christmas in July. So it was, you know, it just kind of that kind of went down and we quoted that out, and then we just based everything around that location because that was our main street. And Mount Tambourine offered us a really beautiful setting because it's just covered in conifers and spruces and
of course,
green. And so we sort of scouted a few places up there and thought, okay, we can make this work with a paper mache snow gun. And I mean, if you look at it, it just it looks like, I think we pulled it off. Like,
oh, absolutely did. Yeah.
You would never know.
I imagine the, you know, the AD rushing in between takes, sort of mopping the sweat off the brow of all the actors dressed in all their winter clothes. But apart from that, it looks exactly like winter.
It was a bit of that. Yeah. I mean, it was hard. It was the cleanup. You know, I don't think that they factored in that, you know, once you white up, you know, an entire acre of, you know, conifers, you actually have to clean that stuff up afterwards. So that actually was more trouble than actually whiting everything down. But
yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And I guess finally, the dogs. Who took direction? Who was a diva? I don't know. Is there a pooper blooper reel of dogs being dogs when the cameras are rolling?
Oh my God, yes, as you can imagine. But you know, I've worked with Katie Brock, the animal trainer, before on numerous occasions. I mean, sure. She's had, you know, I've had her train a proper huge mountain goat to, you know, deliver a paper and drop it on point. And
oh my goodness,
you know, I've worked with her a lot, and she's absolutely incredible. And I could not have made this movie without her. Like, the movie would not have happened without her. She made the movie, really.
Because the three lead dogs are very distinct and probably very distinct personalities as well. I know that I've got a little one here at home, a little Jack Russell Chihuahua, and they don't do as they're told very often. But
and not at the same time.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, so that was the, you know, and the script was written, you know, the three dogs do this and exactly, and this dog does this dog does this dog does this at the same time in one take. So it was a real, you know, it was a skill to work out how to actually get all of that action that was written in the big print, you know, on the page, or actually on the screen, and do it, you know, in the time that we had, because, you know, we really didn't have, we were shooting a full movie in TV time. So we didn't have a lot of days to spend, you know, hours and hours trying to get a dog to do something. So it was, you know, you just had to be very responsive to what they could and couldn't do, and pivot if they couldn't do it, and try and work something else out. But I think, you know, they were adorable dogs, and the three of them all kind of lived together with Katie for the period of time. And I think, I mean, they're just divine. I had to stop, I had to do everything I could not to sort of be touching them all day long. So, because they're performing dogs. So yeah, I think that was an absolutely enormous challenge. The snow was the second enormous challenge, and the American accents was the third and the greatest challenge. But you know, that's the fun of filmmaking, you know.
And it's on big screens as we speak, and that's lovely in itself. Seeing a little Aussie film made with not a lot of money but a lot of passion, sort of play the mainstream, play the multiplex circuit.
I know, right?
Through the Christmas period without without conditions of entry, and well, in some there are obviously, but not
Yeah.
numbers sort of holding people back from going to see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, when we started making it, I wasn't, you know, we weren't sure whether it was going to get a a cinema release or go straight to, you know, SPOD. So I think it's phenomenal that someone, you know, we can go and see a little, you know, Australian Christmas movie, even though it's sort of American because everyone's in, you know, it's Christmas in Vermont, but you know, made in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia during COVID. And I think for it's a little engine that could, you know, it looks like $1 million, I think.
Yeah, it really does. Congratulations on a very sweet film. Tori Garrett, all the very best with your travels and with the workload you've obviously got overseas. That's great news. And all the best with Sit, Stay, Love in cinemas.